Hey guys, quick note before getting into this video, we at MMOByte have started up a new mobile gaming channel called MMOByte Mobile. We'll provide a link to it in the description, so come subscribe if you're interested in even more MMOByte goodness. Back in December, I did a top 10 list titled the top 10 most played MMORPGs in 2019. What MMOs should you be playing? The goal of that video was to provide a list of MMORPGs that were all highly populated that players could participate in going into the new year. However, even though the video has garnered almost 1 million views in a little over just 2 months and has over 7,500 likes, the fact remains that some people were put off due to the video being uploaded back at the end of December 2018. Thus, I am remaking this with various alterations, including a couple MMOs that I missed the first time round. Please note that this video will be addressing the most populated, as in most played, highest population MMORPGs and MMOs this year. Final Fantasy XIV is one of the few pay-to-play MMORPGs left capable of maintaining a subscription-based model. Many other MMOs like Rift, Ion, Wildstar, Terra, Lord of the Rings Online, EVE Online, and a plethora of others had to swap to a free-to-play model to survive. But Final Fantasy XIV proved that people are more than willing to pay for quality. Unlike a lot of currently popular MMOs, Final Fantasy XIV employs a tab target combat system. Some people are actually turned off by the lack of action combat and by the long global cooldown on skills at lower levels, but honestly, I have had absolutely no issue with it. The game has one of, if not the largest focus on story that I've ever come across in an MMO. I've never personally been as engaged in the story of an MMO as I am in Final Fantasy XIV's, and each expansion continues that story to alarming depths. It also has one of the most unique classing systems I've come across, allowing for every single class in-game to be leveled on a single character. This removes a lot of the tedium players often get when leveling alts, and means that any store-related purchases can all be retained on one single character. Although the game lacks a little in terms of character creation initially, it does offer an extensive customization system in-game with which you can personalize your character to quite a substantial degree still. With the state that World of Warcraft is currently in, along with the genre itself, Final Fantasy XIV is fast on its way to actually becoming the most populated MMORPG online, especially considering its Shadowbringers expansion is set to debut as its largest expansion to date. The Elder Scrolls Online is one of the few buy-to-play MMORPGs capable of maintaining a purchase-to-play model. This means that players are capable of purchasing the game a single time and then playing it forever without paying a single cent more. However, like a lot of non-pay-to-play MMOs, ESO offers players the ability to upgrade their membership with the addition of ESO Plus, providing players access to every DLC, additional crowns, gold, and XP boosts and more. Some players state that the game is semi-pay-to-win because of the bonuses received, but honestly, although it can get a little frustrating at times, the game is fully playable without paying for any. The Elder Scrolls Online employs action combat, but puts a different twist on it with their unique class system. It allows for players to live out their weirdest, their wildest class fantasies. A blood-crazed berserker armed with nothing but a knife, fireball, and a loincloth. A staff-wielding assassin that poofs out of the shadows and heals. Yeah. You name it, you can probably do it. ESO also has a fairly large emphasis on storytelling, with each area players explore being influenced by its own unique story in some way. This makes zones more fun to play through and actually provides reason to visit other areas or level as other races. Like Final Fantasy XIV, the character creator does leave a little to be desired, and some things are actually locked behind a paywall. But otherwise, you can customize your characters quite a bit. Player population has honestly been in decline, but with the new Elsewhere expansion on the horizon, it looks as though that could potentially change. The Morrowind expansion did wonders for the player base. MapleStory 2 is actually a newer MMORPG. It's completely free to play and released late in 2018. Players are capable of going directly to their website right now, downloading it and playing it. MapleStory 2 offered players that purchased a Founders Pack a premium club membership, which granted increased XP from monsters, money, and various other bonuses. The game employs a a pretty cute action combat system. I mean, you know, it may not be as flashy as other titles in this list, but that doesn't detract from gameplay. For an anime-inspired MMORPG, MapleStory 2 offers players quite a bit in the way of character creation. I mean, I was shocked when I saw this, because traditionally, anime MMOs aren't really known for their large selection of customization options. Unfortunately for MapleStory 2 fans, though, the player base has declined quite significantly over the last few months. While it isn't really in any danger of being classified as dead yet, the player base has been very vocal about a lack of endgame activities. This is proven to have left the player base, I guess, a little starved for things to do, and ultimately, yeah, well, I mean, you know what happens when players have nothing to do? They move on. Burning Soul Worker is a private server based on the anime MMO Soul Worker Online. Burning Soul Worker is completely free to play and offers players probably the most complete action anime experience outside of Kurzspell. The game is hub-based, having players form parties in various towns and take quests that require you enter a large variety of instances. I know this can be a turnoff for some players, so I am making note of it now. It is a very story-driven game, with each action you make in-game being a direct result of the ever-evolving story. The story is the driving factor between every new area you visit, and the characters you meet throughout the game all play a pivotal role in how the story progresses. The character creation is very basic, like most anime MMOs tend to be. However, there are a large selection of outfits, hairstyles, colors, and more to choose from both in-game and via the store that it provides quite a bit of character customization. The action combat is probably the very best you'll find in an anime MMO though. Better than Aura Kingdom, better than Closers, better than MapleStory 2. Heck, it's actually better than a lot of non-anime MMO inspired MMOs as well. Now, I am well aware that Gameforge published the official Soul Worker, but Gameforge made the game so blatantly pay to win that it is just utter garbage. And fuck Gameforge. Both RuneScape, old school RuneScape, and the recent introduction of RuneScape Mobile have turned RuneScape into one of the most played MMOs on the web. All three iterations are completely free to play and have a player base that many companies would kill to have. Although RuneScape offers players the option to purchase a VIP membership, unlike most free to play MMOs, it doesn't offer the same kind of bonuses. No advantageous XP or gold boosts here, boys. The game does offer traditional point and click tab target combat though, and the combat can be quite slow at times, especially early on, and as we all know, first impressions are honestly detrimental to a new player's ability to tolerate what they are experiencing. The combat can be quite slow at times, especially early on, and first impressions are honestly detrimental to a new player's ability to tolerate what they're experiencing and continue on, but as you get a better grasp of the game, it does actually become much more engaging. There really isn't much in the way of character customization though, but I mean, you know, that's to be expected. It was released way back in 2001, that's almost an entire lifetime ago. Thanks to the release of RuneScape on mobile devices, the player base is actually tremendous in size. I honestly wasn't a fan of Dungeon Fighter Online when I first started it. Side-scrolling brawler MMOs like this, or Closers, and the original MapleStory, they aren't really my style of game. And yes, before a few people complain, I'm well aware that over in the West, Dungeon Fighter Online is nowhere near as populated as it is over in the East, but Dungeon Fighter Online has, year after year, been one of the highest grossing games in the world. There are an absurd amount of classes in-game that each have their own unique fighting style, and unlike pretty much all games of its kind, DFO goes a step further and provides both male and female variants for a large selection of the classes. The game is a hub-based MMO where you form parties and run instances, with each instance you run tying into the story and opening up additional content as you complete them. Now, I am going to be honest here though, the combat in DFO is astounding. Like, truly astounding. The special effects and sheer havoc and destruction I can wreak is just so satisfying. The game might not be nearly as populated over here, but the servers are still absolutely packed with players. Guild Wars 2 is free to play technically, but it actually requires the purchase of each expansion to actively participate in endgame content or unlock the features that accompany them. Guild Wars 2 makes use of a level scaling system, scaling players to the maximum level range of the zone you're currently in. This makes it possible for max level and max geared players to return to lower leveled areas to help with world objectives and quests. The game also utilizes a very unique class system. The classes themselves are traditional in nature, but the skills you have access to are dependent on what kind of weapon you have equipped, both on land and in water. This is something I don't really see done in many games, and especially MMOs. Why shouldn't I have access to a separate selection of skills if I equip an aquatic gear set? The game uses an action combat system that makes very good use of weapon swapping, meaning that you're required to micromanage what you have equipped at what time. I actually found this a little confusing playing Melee since I'd never really done it before, but I was promised that it gets easier with time. Like Final Fantasy XIV, Guild Wars 2 offers a fairly standard character creator, but I mean, it provides players access to a very, very in-depth customization system for players to play dress up in. And we all know that MMOs are only as good as the outfits that we get to dress our characters up in. Yes, this game was initially called Guild Wars 2, but it rapidly transitioned into Fashion Wars. Blade & Soul is one of the few free-to-play MMORPGs left with any semblance of a population. It launched to over 100,000 players and has dropped down quite significantly over the course of the year. Huh, I wonder why. Blade & Soul offers some of the best character creation in an MMORPG, providing players access to gorgeous characters, if a little over-exaggerated at times. Okay, all the time. Especially their fingers. Like, I have never seen someone with 2-foot-long fingers. That is just nasty, like seriously. Like most free-to-play MMOs, the game has a VIP membership offering things like additional daily rewards, increased XP, gold, and other currencies, discounted cash shop items, and more. This has led people to claim that the game is very heavily pay to win, especially since the items purchasable from the store can be used to further oneself in-game. The combat is completely action-oriented and makes heavy use of a combo system, allowing players to combo skills together to make for some pretty slick combinations, especially with other players. As I mentioned, the game at one time held well over 100,000 players. These days though, with all the merges that took place, just, yeah. It's not in that great a spot, but I mean, hell, it's still more played than 95% of the other MMOs on the market. Warframe is a free-to-play sci-fi action MMO, or kind of an MMO. I mean, it's no less an MMO than games like VENDETTA or Phantasy Star Online 2 or Soul Worker Online are, but I mean, it's far from an MMORPG. Warframe, like the aforementioned games, is a hub-based game that has players participate in mission-based content. Unlike the others, however, Warframe provides players the option to set their group to public. What this does is actually promotes activity in the community by allowing random players to join your group and complete quests alongside one another. That is where the MMO aspect of Warframe comes into play, by giving you the option to group with and meet new people outside of your social circle. Combat in Warframe is probably one of the most interesting parts of it. It's complete action, but it relies on things like guns and bows and melee weapons, unlike traditional MMOs. There is no character creation, at least initially, but players do unlock it along with other customization in the form of frames and ships. Seriously though, like Warframe's monstrous population is so large that other than, I guess, potentially Final Fantasy XIV or World of Warcraft, there just isn't really anything out there in the genre that could even begin to compete. I'm mentioning this because the cumulative total of their 3 games totals in the tens of thousands, and I love the games that are published. Nostale Vendetta itself has tens of thousands of active players, tens of thousands. That's more than even Blade & Soul or Terra, surprisingly. Scarlet Blade Vendetta and Eden Eternal Vendetta admittedly have smaller populations, but these are some of the only remaining anime-inspired MMORPGs left on the market with a population outside of perhaps something like Soul Worker or Aura Kingdom. Scarlet Blade is the only game of its kind, offering complete nudity and features not found in other MMOs. Seriously, like, we did a video on it recently, you should just go ahead and check that one out. It was great. All 3 are tab target though, with both Eden Eternal and Nostale being anime MMORPGs. However, both Eden Eternal and Scarlet Blade have a modicum of action in their combat. Scarlet Blade also has some pretty impressive character customization, and Eden Eternal has more outfits than I have ever seen in an anime MMO, literally ever. Lineage II Classic is a free-to-play MMORPG that was re-released by NCSoft in an attempt to play off of some of the nostalgia surrounding the game, and it worked wonders. The game doesn't offer much in the way of character creation or character customization, unfortunately, but games released back when Lineage II did never really offered much in the way of customization, so, I mean, it's no surprise. The combat is fairly traditional tab target, not offering anything exceptional to set itself apart from the other tab target MMOs released at the same time. It does have a VIP membership that offers things like increased XP and SP, increased item drop rate, a daily box, and other handy little boosts. Lineage II Classic's population is actually a lot higher than I would have thought. I'd heard good things about it, but currently it sits at around 30,000 concurrent players split across their servers. To put that into perspective, the non-classic version of the game has around 12,000 players. Black Desert Online is probably the only buy-to-play MMORPG other than the Elder Scrolls Online capable of maintaining a purchase-to-play model. The game has what is generally considered the best character creation in an MMORPG ever. It also has what is once again considered the best action combat ever released in MMO form. It doesn't have as many outfits as other games like Blade and Soul, so the potential for character customization is a little lower, but the sheer control you have over your character's appearance is just ridiculous. BDO doesn't really provide much opportunity to keybind your skills to your action bars, so instead you're required to remember unique button inputs to utilize your class to its fullest extent. The game is also considered by many to have a very large, very prevalent pay-to-win issue. However, even though that issue persists, so many people continue to play the game. Tens of thousands, probably significantly more once it releases on Xbox. I know, some of you guys love WoW, some of you guys hate WoW, but the fact of the matter is, World of Warcraft is still the #1 most played MMORPG on the market as of this video, at least for the time being. Until Final Fantasy XIV potentially surpasses it and dethrones it due to the mistakes made during Battle for Azeroth. WoW has maintained a pay-to-play model ever since its release, and it shows no signs of that changing. The combat is tab target, the game doesn't really provide much in the way of character creation. There are just so many expansions and so much content out though that there are more outfits and sets than probably any other MMO in existence. Blizz have refused to release any information pertaining to the active subscriber population since Legion though, but even at their lowest point with Warlords of Draenor, they still had upwards of 5 million active players. Battle for Azeroth has been reported to not be in that situation yet, but I mean, with the mass amount of people that are flocking over to Final Fantasy XIV, the future remains uncertain. So that is pretty much my list of the most populated MMORPGs this year in 2019. If your favorite MMO like Terra or Star Wars The Old Republic or some other MMO wasn't included, it's probably because they're empty. Sorry. And yes, some are as low as the tens of thousands, but that's the kind of situation we're in right now. So many MMOs have populations that number in the hundreds that really just having a game that has a few thousand players is now considered fairly populated. Regardless, hopefully this list helps you find something you're looking for. I personally play Final Fantasy XIV with my wife, Mrs. STIX, my little sister Wiggy, and her boyfriend right now. I'm also leveling up in Terra and Blade and Soul to do an updated full endgame review on them in the next few months, so yeah, stay tuned and keep an eye out for them. Anyway guys, that is it for me. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more goodness like this, and I will see you all next time. Peace.